It is day 28, 8:35 a.m. in the Big Brother UK All-Stars house. Outside in the garden, we can see that Gemma and Pete are having a little bit of a conversation. Both of them are up early doing chores around the house, taking care of the chickens, etc. Meanwhile, in the bedroom, all of the house guests are just now climbing out of bed. We see that Craig is getting his day started by doing some sit-ups on the ground, while Davina is talking to no one on her phone. In the kitchen, we have Nadia, Cameron, and Brian. It looks as though Cameron is about to potentially start growing up some food if his emotions don't get in the way. I guess he's feeling a bit upset about something, but I'm not too sure. Meanwhile, Nadia and Brian are having a little bit of a conversation. Thankfully, Craig actually ends up coming into the room and started trying to cheer Cameron up and making him feel a bit better, as Brian also puts on a little bit of a show for both Gemma and Nadia. So yesterday I actually did try to call Brian into the diary room because he has 0 big bucks in his account, and since I was giving out secret missions, I wanted to call him in and give him one. However, he didn't want to stay in the diary room to receive a secret mission. Instead, he went to the bedroom and joined into a 3-way woohoo session. So now that it's early in the morning and no one is woohooing right now, I'm going to go ahead and call Brian into the diary room now that we have a chance. All right, so actually today is Love Day in the Big Brother house. It just so happened to fall upon that day. And so based on that, your secret mission today is to get everyone in a flirty mood and to hand out flowers to all of the ladies in the house. Or men, whoever. And every house guest that you give a flower to, you'll receive 5 big bucks. So ideally, he does have to be somewhat romantic for them to accept the rose. But hopefully, if he gets at least 3 roses taken from him, that's 15 big bucks easily made. Even though Nikki wants into the diary room and she's right there and he could totally make her feel better as she looks kind of upset, Brian ends up just walking straight on by her and heading back into the kitchen. But instead of going up to Nadia, he actually goes up to Isabelle, who seems to think it's a bit smelly in there. She's a bit distracted, but with a little bit of confetti throwing and celebrating Love Day, he slowly gets her into the mood and is able to give her a flower, and she actually receives it. Now, if he gives a flower to a house guest and they deny it, then he does not get any money from them. So we see that with this first rose exchange, he did succeed, so that is going to give him 5 big bucks added on. And again, for all of the big buck inquiries, look down below in the description where you can find a bunch of other links and good stuff like that. Now with this first win, it has put not only Isabelle but Brian himself into a little bit of a flirty mood. His cheeks are blushing, and as soon as New York comes over, he starts going over towards her direction and tries to give her a gift. He was out of roses, which is fine. A romantic gift is good enough. And she does receive it. However, she isn't too happy about it. So he does not receive the 5 big bucks from her. However, she ends up giving him a rose. And I don't know what to do then. I'm like, well, you didn't accept his gift. However, you got a rose from someone. I don't know, it wasn't technically the rules, so I'm not going to give that to him, but I thought that was interesting and a very strange interaction. I guess maybe she just didn't like the gift he gave her, but I can't even remember what it was. At the bar, we see that it's kind of a little bit of a girl's corner. It's kind of like the talk that I described once. I'm like, this is the daytime talk show of my Big Brother house with Makosi, Nadia, Charley, and Davina just talking at the bar, while a lot of the other people just kind of sit around and overhear on their conversation. It seems as though Brian is done with the kitchen, though. He doesn't seem to have anyone in there that he can continue flirting with. And instead, he makes his way into the bedroom to scope out the scene. I was actually worried that he was about to woohoo with Isabelle. But he ends up going up to Nikki, who, like we said, was in a little bit of a sad mood when he left the DR. And she instantly sees the flower and is into it. She accepts it. And it's actually the flower that New York gave him, which is kind of funny. And then she ends up just giving the flower right back to him. So it's a bit of a weird interaction. She actually ends up giving it to him right in front of Craig. And her and Craig have been like slowly getting better in terms of their relationship. So it's a little bit of an awkward situation now. But I'm going to give that one to Brian because at least she accepted the rose. Outside, of course, we have New York and Pete showering in the rain. Every single time it rains, the two of them have to shower out there, which is fine. At least it's, another plumbing thing that's not going to break. Meanwhile, in the showers, those are being taken up because Rylan and Nadia are having a little bit of a one-on-one conversation in there. At least Nadia's doing a face mask, like some type of hygiene routine. However, in the kitchen, it looks as though the conversation is still going on pretty strong. Makosi, however, thought about doing some dishes she had up her butt, but instead she just set it on the counter and is probably going to wait for someone else to pick it up and do it for her, which is a mood. Davina starts singing a song, which is totally like an Emo Rylan move. Isn't really one of Davina to do it. And Brian actually ends up picking up the dishes and doing it for her as Davina celebrates Love Day, just the two of them. I would think that with Davina already in a celebratory Love Day type of mood, that she would definitely be good to try to get a rose accepted from. And I think Brian kind of has the same idea going too, because as he overhears that conversation while he's doing the dishes, he ends up heading over to Davina and starting the conversation with her, trying to get a little bit flirty with her, and ends up handing her the rose, which she smells and, of course, isn't really into it because they aren't really flirty or anything. However, she takes it. She's not too butthurt about it, so I guess I'm going to go ahead and give him the money on that one too. However, he does not receive a gift in return. Kind of shady, I guess. At 11:19 a.m., New York still hasn't gotten dressed after her outdoor shower with Pete. However, she is still continuing having a conversation with him as the two of them still relax outside. Meanwhile, some of the house guests are getting ready in the bathroom, while Craig is enjoying himself in the pile of trash. But he's not the only one, because pretty much as soon as he gets out of it, there's a line of other house guests waiting to jump right into it and continue partying, with Isabelle being the next one to snatch that place up. However, once Craig goes to the shower, he runs into Nikki, and like I said, the two of them have been trying to rekindle their friendship. They woohooed, and then right after they woohooed, they really stopped hanging out, stopped talking completely, and it seems as though it's definitely rekindled as they actually start woohooing right in front of Nadia in the shower, and she does not like it. And I feel like it's a bit of a karma case. Yesterday, mid-conversation with Nikki, Makosi, and Pete or whoever started hooking up behind them, and Nadia joined right in front of Nikki, and so now Nikki is just hooking up right in front of Nadia as payback, and Nadia doesn't seem to take it as well. Isabelle soon comes to the same shower to join the view, and it looks as though Brian is outside talking on the phone. Rylan was in the other shower listening and just decided to just go ahead and clean, while outside New York still chats it up with Pete, and Davina is the third person to go ahead and play in that trash. I think a lot of them are probably really bored and don't have much entertainment, so that trash pile is kind of all they have on a really quiet, gloomy, rainy day like today. However, the time for Brian's secret mission is up, so Big Brother goes ahead and calls him into the diary room to let him know that he has passed his secret mission. It was kind of hard to fail unless you got 0 flowers received from anyone, but he has received 15 big bucks, and since his total previously was 0, that means he has 15 in total now. It's 2:36 p.m. in the house, and after Brian glitches into the kitchen, we see that the original crew of Cameron, Makosi, and Davina are still hanging out in there, with Davina entertaining the two of them. However, it seems as though slowly over time, Makosi is getting a little bit more annoyed, but it's definitely a Makosi mood. She's always annoyed with everyone. However, Cameron, I am actually going to go ahead and call to the diary room. Now, recently we've been giving secret missions to the people that have the least amount of money, and this week we don't have ministries. However, we still have a big boss of the week, and that is Cameron. And with every big boss comes an opportunity for them to lose or earn more money, or just have a sense of power. So we're actually going to do that with him today. And again, with it being Love Day, we're going to theme it around that. So Cameron now has a secret mission, opportunity, task, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, to actually cook up a 3-course meal, including a salad, a main course, and a dessert. Once he's done cooking up all 3 meals, he is then going to be able to invite all of his closest friends, and all of them are going to be able to enjoy the private meal that he has cooked in the kitchen and able to spend time with just them and have a good time with one another. Meanwhile, leaving most of the house guests locked out and hungry. But who knows? With the way that the cooking is going so far with Cameron, his guest might still be hungry as they're going to be dining on inedible food. But we'll see. Cameron has learned how to cook previously. He has been working on it, so hopefully the meal doesn't turn into a complete disaster. And hopefully this gives him a little bit of an advantage moving forward, because he will be able to get those close bonds he already has and try to make them even closer and seal in his fate and his chance that he doesn't receive the most nominations next week. Alright, while he's doing that, the kitchen is locked up, so a lot of the house guests are hanging out, mostly in the bathroom. We see that New York actually ends up going over to the laundry and start fixing up the clothesline and getting that so everyone else can start beginning laundry again. However, you know the usual routine with the rain, so Pete actually goes outside and enjoys his second shower in the rain of the day. But the weird thing with Pete is that he doesn't actually move around and wash himself when he does this. He just stands still and creepily. I don't understand that. Davina is cooking up some food outside for everyone, while inside Cameron has actually finished his main course of what I think is garlic noodles. I don't think it's goopy carbonara or whatever. I think it's garlic noodles. However, while he's making the dessert, he seems to have grossed himself out by getting the cake batter all over him. Outside, everyone is enjoying a meal that Davina has made on the grill that is just a bunch of different kind of meat. I'm guessing it's a cottage living meal that we got, because I don't know what that is. Craig is showering off in the shower after hooking up with Nikki, and the girls all gossip about it in the other shower. At 5:55 p.m., not only has Cameron finished up with his main course, but he now also has wrapped up his dessert by making a 3-layer black and white cake. And he is now moving on to his salad. While other salads are being tossed in the bedroom, we have another 3-way going on. This one is actually between Gemma Collins, Emma Willis, and Pete. I gotta say, Pete and Craig really get around in this house. Rylan is there in the bedroom to witness it, and soon walks himself into a corner and tries to hide. Him and Davina both try to carry on a conversation in there while awkwardly just staring into the corner. At least Davina pulls out the excuse of doing laundry, and that's kind of what a lot of the house guests seem to be doing. They always end up going into the bedroom, seeing what's going on, and then immediately go outside to find some chore to do. New York has finished up fixing the clothing line, so of course, naturally, Davina is now doing laundry. That way they can put that line to use. Brian's doing some dishes, while Isabelle is mopping the grass. At 8:20 p.m., Cameron's Big Boss dinner for Love Day is officially beginning. Everything is finished. The 3 courses are ready and served, and all of his guests are invited into the kitchen for this private dinner. Now, all of his guests were based on his relationships, and they were all his closest friends. And it's actually pretty funny to see who those people are and who he invited. So they end up being all the other men in the house, which, I mean, kind of makes sense. So we have have Brian, Craig, Pete, and Rylan being invited. And then the one girl that is invited is Isabelle, who is the one girl that Cameron has hooked up with. So that also makes sense. We have the two guys he's hooked up with, Craig and Brian, who are just the other two guys left, and then Isabelle, who he has hooked up with. So it makes sense, but it is an interesting group, to say the least. But they all seem to be hitting it off pretty well. All of them don't just, go course by course. They all kind of pick what they want to eat. Some of them grabbing the watermelon salad that Cameron has made. Others grabbing the noodles. And Cameron isn't too sure where he wants to sit, as the conversations are kind of all over the place, and he wants to be involved in all of them. The weird thing that happens, though, is Isabelle soon just kind of turns into a maid for the boys. All of them sit at the table and enjoy their food and enjoy farting and burping and telling jokes to one another and talking about Love Day. Meanwhile, the entire time, Isabelle just goes back and forth, picking up their dirty dishes and taking them and washing them. She doesn't even start a conversation with any of them. She's not a part of the conversation. Instead, she is just their maid for the party, which, she definitely elected herself for that. It's not like they told her to do that. But it was really disappointing to see the only girl here just be the maid. Especially since I find Isabelle really interesting, and I thought she was really fun and nice to be around, on the show. She always seemed that way, and I think how she's been acting in this game has also reflected that. So, I don't know. I was kind of bummed about that. In the bedroom, it looks as though Makosi is the first one to head to bed. She's calling it an early night, but she isn't the only one, as Nadia, Davina, and New York also head to bed. And with small numbers, Big Brother just goes ahead and turns off the lights for those girls. At 9:28 p.m., the remaining house guests that aren't at the party are in the bathroom slowly getting ready for bed. Meanwhile, the party still rages on in the kitchen, and Isabelle is ready to leave. She's still, playing maid, going back and forth and cleaning dishes, and she's getting a bit sick of it. Eventually, though, she does end up actually going back to the table and sitting down and grabbing a slice of cake. She's the first one to break into that cake, and it honestly looks good. I think all the food that he made tonight looks pretty good. So she finally starts eating cake, starting conversation, and is actually a party guest for once at this party and not, a housekeeper. Meanwhile, the conversation has not stopped going between Pete, Brian, Rylan, and Cameron. Cameron is definitely using this time wisely, with bonding with all of them and making sure his male bonds are as close as possible, even if he's not spending that time to get close to Isabelle. But he does spend it to get even more closer to the only other gay male in the house, Rylan, as him and Rylan soon start flirting with one another and then head over to the bar, but not to grab a drink. Instead, they start woohooing on the bar. They don't mind that there is, 4 other people in the room that are supposed to be enjoying the party, and apparently Pete and everyone in the room doesn't really mind too much either, as they all kind of cheer along. But honestly, Pete and Craig would cheer along. Craig is the only one that doesn't cheer along, actually. He actually, shudders and thinks it's gross, which is pretty homophobic, especially from the guy who is hooking up with everyone in the house, not only girls. So, I don't know what that was about. Kind of made me judge him a little bit. And the whole hooking up on the bar soon sort of ends the party a bit early. We see that Pete and Isabelle have a conversation right beside the couple. And Pete's even trying to get a little bit flirty, maybe trying to, have a 4-way instead of a 3-way, be the first 4-way in the house, but nothing ends up happening. Craig surprisingly doesn't join in since he's grossed out randomly and ends up heading to bed instead, and soon all of our other house guests do as well. But even though the vote is closed, we still have a huge eviction coming up tomorrow between our 2 girls, New York and Charley. Which one did you guys vote to save? You guys got to find out tomorrow. And not only that, but we are introducing a brand new twist. And there might just be a brand new house next door with some brand new house guests. I don't know. Stay tuned for tomorrow to find out everything. Subscribe, hit the bell, all that stuff, and I'll see you then. Bye.